In a world that was kind of drowning in debt, where trust in the old guards of finance was just crumbling, a new hero was about to be born. But this hero wasn't made of flesh and blood. Nope. It was forged from pure code. See, this isn't just a story about money. It's a full-on epic. We're talking math versus man, insane crashes, civil wars, and a quest for a totally new kind of truth. So let's dive in. Okay, so our story kicks off right here with a secret message. This headline, it was embedded in the very first block of Bitcoin ever created. Now, this wasn't just some random timestamp. It was a mission statement. You could even call it a permanent digital protest against the system that, well, needed rescuing. Again. And that message? It basically asked a radical question. What if we could just start over? Build a financial system from the ground up, one that doesn't rely on the promises of politicians or the stability of banks. What if, instead of trusting people, we could just trust in math? And just like that, a hero stepped out of the shadows. It was created by this mysterious figure, or maybe a group we still don't know, known only as Satoshi Nakamoto. And their white paper? It was basically the blueprint for a revolution. This is really the heart of the conflict, right? The old world versus the new. On one side, you have a system that's all about trusting people and institutions. You know, people who can make mistakes, devalue your money, or even freeze your account. But on the other side, you've got this new system where you don't have to trust anyone. You just have to trust that the code, the math, works exactly like it's supposed to. So how does it guarantee honesty? Well, it has a superpower. Proof of work. The best way to think about it is like a massive invisible wall of energy. You've got miners all over the world competing in this huge computational lottery. The winner gets to add the next page to the history book, and they get rewarded for it. Now, if you wanted to cheat, you'd have to overpower all of that honest energy combined, which is, let's be real, pretty much impossible. That energy is what makes the whole thing secure. For a while, though, this whole idea was just a fun little project for geeks and cryptographers. I mean, for code to actually become currency, it has to be able to buy something in the real world. And that moment? It came in the most hilarious and unexpected way possible. So, get this. On May 22, 2010, a programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz goes on a forum and makes a really strange offer. He says he's willing to pay 10,000 bitcoins for 2 pizzas. Just 2 large pizzas delivered to his door. And you know what? Someone took him up on it. This was it. This was the moment that abstract code was first traded for something you could actually hold, or, eat. Those 2 pizzas, worth maybe $40 at the time, would be valued at hundreds of millions of dollars today. It was, without a doubt, the most expensive pizza order in human history. But, every hero's journey has its trials. And after a pretty spectacular rise to fame, Bitcoin faced a series of absolutely brutal market crashes that would test its very reason for existing. Yeah, by the end of 2018, Bitcoin had plummeted by over 82% from its peak. This wasn't just a dip, it was a bloodbath. It was actually worse than the dot-com bubble burst. Everyone on TV was calling it dead. I mean, this should have been the end of the story. But something incredible happened. Right in the middle of all that chaos and panic from an earlier crash, a user on a forum, apparently drunk and super emotional, made a typo in a frantic post. He meant to write, "I am holding," but instead, he typed, "I am hodling." And this drunken mistake, it became a legend. It was a rallying cry. It came to represent this kind of irrational resilience, the spirit of the little guy just refusing to sell, holding on for dear life against the storm. A whole culture was born from a typo. So after surviving attacks from the outside world, Bitcoin suddenly faced an even bigger threat, a war from within. The community was literally torn apart by this huge debate that came to be known as the block size war. And look, this was a battle for the very soul of Bitcoin. On one side, you had these powerful companies and miners who wanted bigger blocks to make transactions faster, more like Visa. On the other side, people argued that keeping the blocks small was absolutely essential for decentralization. It meant anyone with a basic computer could help verify the network, keeping the power in the hands of the users, not corporations. And in the end, the users won. Through this amazing grassroots movement, the community proved that the ultimate power in Bitcoin doesn't belong to the miners or the big companies. It belongs to the people running the nodes. The big block side ended up breaking away to form a new coin called Bitcoin Cash, but the original Bitcoin, It stayed independent and decentralized. So, after surviving market crashes and actual civil wars, Bitcoin entered its final act. It went from being this fringe outcast idea to a legitimate asset class, embraced by the very institutions it was originally built to challenge. It was a long road for sure. You had the pizza purchase that gave it real-world value, the crash that forged its whole culture of resilience, but the real turning point, that came in 2024, with the approval of Bitcoin ETFs in the US. Suddenly, the floodgates of institutional money were thrown wide open. By 2025, Bitcoin had soared past $100,000 a coin. Sovereign wealth funds, even some central banks, started adding it to their balance sheets. The outcast had finally made it into the mainstream. So what's the moral of this whole crazy story? After all the battles, all the hype, what is Bitcoin's actual purpose? What's the point? Well, its power really comes from two things that cannot be changed. First, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. Unlike government money that can be printed forever, or even gold that we could find more of, Bitcoin's scarcity is absolute. And second, its supply schedule is totally predictable. Every 4 years, the reward for creating it gets cut in half. This halving is like the network's cosmic heartbeat, just ruthlessly making it rarer and rarer. And this brings us to the really big idea. For all the controversy you hear about its energy use, that's precisely the point. Bitcoin is basically a machine. It takes raw energy, a real-world physical cost, and it converts it into a secure, unchangeable, and trustworthy record of history. It creates a ledger of immutable truth. In a world where digital information can be faked so easily and financial promises can be broken, this whole story leaves us with a final, really profound question. What is the price of creating something that is truly, undeniably trustworthy? And Bitcoin's answer is crystal clear. Trust isn't free. It costs energy. And when you think about it, that might just be the most honest price you can possibly pay.